Can I just ask that everybody who signed this sheet, did that mean it was your intention to speak at courtesy of the floor? Yes? Yes? Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the February 3rd, 2022 meeting of County Council. Mr. Gafredo, will you lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Zembo, will you call the roll?
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mr. Giovanni.
Present.
Mr. Gafredo.
Here.
Mr. Heckman.
Here.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 20, 2022, please.
Motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Vote for acclamation to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Next, we have courtesy of the floor. Give me a second to catch up with myself. Okay, we have several people that wish to speak this evening. The guidelines for courtesy of the floor is you get 5 minutes only, and council's just going to listen. They're not going to ask you questions or rebut. We're here to listen to what you have to say to us. So the first person I have is Fiorella Mirabito.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Fiorella Mirabito. I'm the mayor of the Borough of Bath. I'm here tonight on behalf of my husband, who owns My Place Pizza Restaurant in Bath for now almost 34 years. So the first thing I'd like to say is thank you for the grant that we received. It's been quite the time in the restaurant business. We were closed for 14 months for dine-in, but we were open to takeout. It's been a very difficult time. Also, finding employees is another issue. I've been told that County Council is considering getting rid of the program. I honestly don't know how to put this, but small business, as you all know, is the fabric of this country. We need help, and we need help now. Not just my little pizza shop, but all my other businesses in Bath. And the other businesses are very thankful as well for what they received. I have a tickle. So I urge you all to please reconsider when you make your decision on this. It is vital to those who own a small business. If you don't own a small business, it's hard to understand what goes into it. So that's all I have. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service because I know what it's about, serving the public. So thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next, I believe there's someone on the phone. The same rules apply. Would you identify yourself, please?
She was there.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, hello?
Yes, did you hear the rules for courtesy of the floor?
Yes, my name is Jessica Jones.
Wait, I think we had, hold on a minute.
You need to speak a little louder into your phone.
Hello?
Can you put your
trying to
mic
think
to the
of-
phone?
Hold on 1 second so we can hear you. Go ahead, try now, please. Hello?
Go ahead, trying to take you off Bluetooth. Hello?
Yes, we could hear you.
The powers of technology.
Okay, just state your name, please, and you get
Okay, my name is Jessica Jones. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I have to pick. I'm the owner of Jupiter Crush in Easton. My small program would be very beneficial for businesses like mine, especially right now because there's a third wave this past month of this situation that has really hit businesses hard, every business owner I know. And it's important that people understand that we don't have salaries. It's not just an inconvenience when we lose work for COVID, for people getting COVID and canceling appointments and so forth. It's different than a restaurant, but it's very much apparent that, we need help. So I just wanted to be another voice that is reaching out for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Denise Smith. If you were for the presentation, that's why I asked the question. If you did not want to speak to.
Oh, pardon me. I misunderstood that. You were saying my intention was to speak as courtesy of the floor. I misheard you. I thought you meant speaking at all tonight. We needed to be registered,
I assume
so.
that Ms. Brown, after you, is also part of the presentation.
That
so
we will
can
be
I
after
skip you?
courtesy of the floor. Yes, my
Thank-
apologies for that.
Nope, that's okay. Thank you. Next, I have a Bia Noto. Is that correct? Bill, sorry. Old eyes, I apologize.
I own a small business in Palmer Township called Santisi Imports and Pastificio 601. We import food from Italy, and we have a pasta factory, make fresh pasta and ravioli. Big portion of our business, though, is we supply the dining halls at Lafayette, Lehigh, Moravian, and Northampton Community College with not only bulk pasta, but microwavable grab-and-go meals for students. A few years ago, I was feeling pretty cocky that it was recession-proof until COVID hit and they shut the colleges down. So we lost, right off the bat, when they shut the college dining halls down in the spring of 20, our business dropped about almost 50%. About 48% of our business was doing college business. And the grant from the county, honestly, for a small business like ours, I only have 4 employees on the payroll, was truly a lifesaver. As a previous speaker said, if you don't run a small business, you don't understand what it is, and especially in the food business. We're competing against companies like Wegmans and Redner's and a lot of these big guys, and we're not sitting on a big pile of cash reserves that they are. So it's, we go from month to month, and without this program, I don't think we'd have survived, honestly. I think it was a true lifesaver for us, and I'd like to thank every member of council and the county executive and actually Tina had lunch at our place one day and told me about the grant program that I could submit for. So if you're thinking of doing away with it, I wish you'd strongly reconsider, because I know there's other businesses like mine out there that are struggling. We're not out of the woods yet. The colleges are coming back to full steam, but we get these little hiccups right now with Omicron, and they did a virtual week at Lehigh, so it slowed things up a little bit. We're starting to get back up, but without your help and support, I think we had to close the business. So, and the big thing is, I also every dollar of that grant went to payroll. I did not, through this whole thing, lay anybody off. I didn't take any money, but I didn't lay anybody off. My commitment to my employees, and hopefully we'll grow, and I can create more jobs here in Northampton County. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I skipped one. Ken Rampolla. How could I skip Mr. Rampolla? God forbid.
Not a big deal. Good evening. I'm CEO of Lost Tavern Brewing in Hellertown and also in Bethlehem. As a 2-time recipient of the Small Business Grant, I came here today primarily to say thank you. While I've been in business over 40 years, the last 2 have been a really wild ride. The unknown and the consistently changing landscape made experience mostly obsolete or useless. While personally, it probably would have been much better for me just to hunker down and shudder, your grant helped me not do that. If I did shutter, it would have been better for me personally, but it would not have been the best thing for our employees, our customers, our borough, and ultimately our company. Your grant provided a much-needed backstop at a time when it was a gut-check moment for most businesses. You made a great difference for a great company. So I hope this evening, when you hear myself and others speak, that you fully realize that your grant made a difference to a lot of small businesses. And I hope you will continue that and continue to support growth in the valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rampola. Next, we have a Melody Bradford.
Good evening. My name is Melody, and I'm here on behalf of my husband's business, Bradford's Lawn Service. We're probably one of the smallest in the room. We were a grant recipient, and I wanted to come and just come in front of you and tell you a little bit about what we've been up against. We don't have employees. We actually we work somewhat in conjunction with contractors, simply because we're so small that to employ full-time employees would be an imposition for us financially. And so we rely on them, but that, of course, has a domino effect. And last year, at the onset of the pandemic, it was uncertain whether or not we could even operate. There wasn't really clear guidance from the governor's office as to whether or not we could stay open. And when we finally got back up on our feet, we worked for property managers, and those property managers, some of them weren't getting paid rent. And so, from a lawn care and a snow removal perspective, if they didn't get paid, we didn't get paid. And so what we did with the grant was help to offset the costs of some of those costs that we had to incur in order to be able to remain operational. And so from that perspective, it really did have the domino effect, not only for us directly, but for the people that we work with, as well as the people that we work for. In many cases, we're doing apartment complexes and residential properties, and some of which are first responders, and some of them wouldn't be able to get out to work had we not been able to provide that service. So I know that it's been really helpful for us as a ultra small business, but if you're considering pulling this, I can tell you I sat down at a diner recently, and I'll share with you, it was the Hellertown Diner within our county, and I could almost get emotional. But he actually said to me, he said, he says, we've had such a hard time with things. My servers, when we were shut down, they have small children. They didn't have anywhere to go. He says, I told them to just come in. He goes, I'll feed you. He goes, just come in and I'll feed you. He said, and we'll help you. So we told him about the grant. I don't know if he applied, but that's a pretty moving story. So as you seek to hopefully reconsider, I just want to leave you with two thoughts. It's said that small business is the backbone of the economy, and it's important to note that the impact of COVID has been and continues to break the back of small business. And this grant is a perfect example of how output affects outcomes. I seriously hope you'll reconsider. I thank you for your service, and I thank you for our grant. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next, we have Millie Bean.
Hello, good evening. I'm Millie Bean, yes. I'm from Plainfield Township, and I've been here a couple times before. I brought along a copy of a display ad that we had put in. I've been trying to fight the Nazareth Borough Sewer Authority wanting to spread sludge on farm next to our homes. I just wanted to, last time I was here, I left a packet. It was on HR 60, and it was like 75 pages. And I didn't read it all when I got it. Somebody had, I don't know where I even got it, but I got the copy and I started reading it. It's a really, really important document. It's got a lot of information in it. They tried to get this HR 60, some of this things done in 2016 when they were fighting Synagro. And they had, Plainfield Township, Synagro, all kinds of things going on. I'm sure you're all aware of it. But the weird part is, as I read through this document, it talks about that. It talks about there was testimony. There's all kinds of things in there. On page 60, as I'm going through, oh yeah, I brought a couple of these. If anybody wants one, I gave some to Tara. As I'm going through this, I'm reading all the things about sludge and all the different parts. And I knew quite a bit when they were fighting Synagro, Plainfield Township, the citizens. I went to all but 2 meetings, and there's so much information. And this is the only one thing that I really want to stress is that document went nowhere. That legislation, HR 60, all that work, everything that they tried to do went nowhere. And as you read the document, it says right in it that this sludge, putting it down, should be stopped. It says right in the document. And the other thing that surprised me, which when I started writing things up and we talked about it, I said, well, it's Class B biosolids they put on the farm, which isn't really good. It smells to high heaven. It's just not good. Plus it has the heavy metals, all the stuff in it. Well, then I'm reading the document on page 60. It says you have Class A, Class B. Class A, they dry it. It's expensive. So they don't want to dry it. They don't want to dry it. They don't want to spend the money, which, but then they can spread Class A. They don't have to have a DE permit to spread it. Class B, they have to have a DE permit. So the Class B and the Class A is virtually the exact same stuff. It has all the heavy metals, it has all the pharmaceuticals. It's absolutely no different except it's been dried, so it doesn't smell to high heaven. Still got all the bad stuff in it. So I thought, oh, well, Class A is better, so if they dry it, maybe it's not so bad. But then I'm like, it says right in it. It's the exact same thing. So it's not any better, because once it gets wet, the bacteria and everything starts to grow again. So it's not better. So both of those things need to be not allowed. And I was very disappointed when I realized after all that work and all that legislation, and they said it should be stopped, nothing happened. So the farm that's next to us that was bought, that they want to put this on, we're fighting really hard to try so that doesn't happen. Don't know where we're going with it yet, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And we have Gary Gower Jr.
Good evening. First, I want to say, first I need my glasses. First, I want to say thank you to the County Council for allowing me to speak tonight. We have had our business in the county since it was started back in 1985. Over the past 37 years, we've had our ups and downs, but nothing like this past 2. The grant money that has been available from the county to help small businesses like mine helped many of us from closing our doors for good. As a small business owner, we strive on our passion and the love of what we do. I don't even want to think how closing my business would affect my family as well as the family of my employees. Ultimately, I am here tonight to thank you and again reiterate, as everyone else has said, please reconsider. This has helped a lot of businesses over the past 2 years. And for helping us small businesses continuing to keep our doors open as we work towards providing our services to Northampton County residents and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here in chambers who would like to address council under public comment? Sir, you can approach the mic and just state your name and address, and you get 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Kofi Armour, executive chef and co-owner of Co Winery and Kitchen. We received a grant last year. We just got approved again. And I mean, we started our business in 2018. So, I mean, I wouldn't be here even, to get the opportunity to talk if not for your grant. I mean, so many other businesses that have been around for years, I mean, could not make it out. I mean, we luckily are here thanks to, your grant. We're a small business. My wife and I own it. We have few employees. It's kind of hard to compete with in the job market to hire, staff in terms of all these sign-on bonuses and, all these competitive wages from other industries. But with grants like this, businesses like mine can also, create jobs, hire the small town folks that don't want to work outside of the town or don't want to work for other big companies. Thank you.
Sir, can I just ask you to spell your name and state your address for Ms. Zembo's record, since
Kofi-
you didn't sign in?
Oh, sorry. Kofi Armour. My address is 81 West Broad Street, Bethlehem, PA.
81 West Broad?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you spell your name?
Kofi. Last name is Armour, ARMAH.
ARMA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address council? Seeing and hearing none, thank you. Courtesy of the floor is now closed. This evening, we have a presentation from Ms. Shelley Brown and Ms. Denise Smith on the State Theater. So I'd like to ask them to speak at this time.
Good evening again, council.
That's why I asked, because I figured I knew you already had a slot. You didn't want to hear us twice.
Well, thank you very much for that. I am Denise Smith, and this is Shelley Brown, our president and CEO, and we appreciate some time tonight on the agenda. And we're here for two reasons. First of all, that we would like to give an update on the State Theater, especially over the last couple of years. And we would also like to say thank you. As you may know, this State Theater is been in our community since 1926, and until the pandemic shut us down, March 12th, 2020, we had been in continuous operation. And it's been quite a wild ride and an incredible journey over the last 2 years. And if not for the support of our community, very much to include the support of Northampton County, this theater, which has been a cornerstone of our community for over 90 years, might not have continued to be here. But we wanted to say thank you because you have helped us through the pandemic, through your support, as well as the community at large. And we're not out of the woods yet, and Shelley will give you an update on that, but we were able to open our doors in September and continue in our community, our social mission, our economic mission, and the mission of taking care of our beautiful building, which I think everyone would agree is one of the real gems of Northampton County. In over these 96 years, and for the record, Shelley and I have not been there the whole time, but
I have.
plenty long enough to see and navigate through a lot of challenges over the decades and a lot of changes, but absolutely nothing like we have seen in the last 2 years. And with that, I'm going to let Shelley kind of give you a snapshot of where we have been, what we have been working through, and where we are now and what our future looks like.
Thank you. And I certainly echo Denise's thank you to you all for your great support, along with everyone else in the room. And we're all, I think, telling a similar story, perhaps different locations, but a similar story of what we're all going through. I would never have believed that we could have gone for an entire year closed with no income and still open for another day. I really would never have thought that possible. The gift of COVID, if you could say there was a gift, was learning how much this community loves and values the theater. The support, the memberships, people continuing, to become members when we were closed and there were no shows to see, the kids wanting to be in the Freddie Awards and writing to us and talking to us about what it meant to them. These are really priceless things that are a gift to recognize. I think we all thought that when the shutdown was over and we could think about opening the doors again, I think we were thinking about, and the last time we were here, talking about the precautions and the protocols for COVID and getting the shows back up and going again. We scheduled a season with 3 shows to start that we knew we would lose money on, clearly, but we thought we'll just try to get this thing going again. And people came, and then things were starting to feel a little bit normal, and then along came Omicron, and the brakes just went on. We are certainly obligated to the shows that we had scheduled before all this happened. Believe it or not, some of the original shows from before any of this happened are still on our schedule. Ringo Starr is sold out in June, let's hope. He's 81, but, we'll hope. And he's kicking. And, so those shows are there. But the new shows that we put out and some of the others, what happened is tickets started to sell. Everything just stopped. It just stopped. And the love is there. Our holiday campaign was to raise money for a new light board in the theater. And that did very well. The tickets are just stalled out. And every one of these productions, almost every one of these productions, is losing significant amounts of money. We were blessed, along with your support, to receive the national grant, the Shuttered Venue Grant. And a lot of people think, well, that's great, that'll take them through. It certainly is a huge help, but that was designed to make up for the losses during the closure and must be spent by June. So that money is just going out the door. The COVID protocols for the big shows with the stagehand pool is really low. Everybody in this room knows about finding employees, about all the extra costs. In December alone, we lost almost $170,000 on the shows. And that was with the shows happening and people there, and it just affects everything. So we believe so strongly in the mission of the theater. I personally believe that if we could be open and normally and have a theater full of people, there'd be a lot more joy in the community. People getting along. It was really emotional. I was listening to some of the stories, and then I'm finished, that people were telling earlier. When you see people come into our theater and sit down as strangers and share an experience, and all throughout, at intermission, they're talking a little bit, and then at the end, they leave and they're together and there's laughter, or they feel better. We've been missing that now, in our community in so many ways for over 2 years. And so it's so important that we be there. We're so grateful to you who believe in us. We know that your support is there. We know that the community wants us to come back. But this Omicron thing is just not something, it's going to take, I think, longer than any of us thought. So I just wanted to let you know we're in business, the lights are on, but they're not making money, not by a long shot. So we're just sort of saying, let's hope this ends quickly and we can get back to, because the artists want their fees. And they've kind of forgotten about, the challenges. So thank you for listening to us as always and supporting us and being there for us. We're so proud to be in Northampton County and to be open, but fingers crossed. So thank you. And hopefully next time we're back, we'll have better news.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from Ms. Brown or Ms. Smith? Mr. Keiser?
Yeah, thank you for coming. Could you maybe update us on what the Freddie situation is going to be?
We have 28 schools, which is fantastic. And so far, they have shows. They've told us their intent to participate. We're going to do it no matter as best we can. We're expecting it to be, it's the 20th anniversary of the Freddie Awards. And kids who have been waiting to be in, are just so excited. The TV station's all in. We have set up our rehearsal schedule. We're good to go. We're going to work with what we're allowed to do with the kids.
It's good to hear.
I want to see them all over the city of Easton and on TV, so thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Myers?
So which one of these pigeons are you going to get to dance for you?
Unfortunately, our Dancing with the Stars company, I'm not sure made it through COVID. The last I spoke with him, I mean, we had paid him to come but I'm not sure he made it. Hopefully, we told him, come on as soon as you can get the ballot company back up and going. Because they're a nonprofit out in
Nevada?
Oregon, I think. And, but we'll bring it back. And the people who talk about it are the ones that move to the top of the list of being on the show.
I'm the second oldest person here, watch it.
Any other questions, comments? I have some questions. Well, first of all, I was grateful to see that the Freddies were back, and so let's hope that comes to fruition. Do you need judges? My kid's out now, I could judge.
I know that the people have received their assignments and everything for this year, but I will keep that in mind, and
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago, they posted they needed judges to go to the shows.
Yeah.
Do you offer internships at the theater for college or?
In a normal year,
Yes.
yeah, we try to, not many, but yeah, and we always have people participating, students, especially we love when alumni students come back and participate in the Freddie Awards. It's sort of a whole new ballgame right now with everything. We're still operating, we aren't doing, I forgot to mention this, we aren't doing events other than our shows this season. We don't have an event coordinator and we don't have the personnel. We do weddings and parties and things like that. We're not, so an intern program, I'm not sure yet.
Does that mean you won't have the night before the Freddies?
Oh, yeah, that's on.
We will. That
Yes.
is underway, and that is a yes.
Okay.
But we do a significant.
Preview night.
Yes, preview night, yes. But I mean, we have a significant portion of our business is people coming with receptions and parties and weddings, and we're not doing any of that. We just can't.
And then the summer camp
It's on.
is on. You haven't had it for the past 2 years, correct?
Right.
Did you do it? You didn't do it last summer?
No,
All right, so the camp will be back on.
yes. The camp is groupings of kids, in our rooms, spending the whole day together, and that just wasn't possible. I say everything's on, knock wood, that we don't have some weird, I know, I heard the sigh, I agree.
So I assume that people that want that kind of information just continue to look on your website?
Oh, absolutely.
Because the applications will be there, any kind of restrictions will be there, or size limitations will all
Yeah,
be
there's already people signed up.
available. Okay, good. It's good to hear. I always appreciate what you do. I've always appreciated, my daughter went through the Freddie program since she was little, and the camp was a great experience for her, and I recommend it to any parent that's looking for something good for their kid to do in
Thank
the
you.
summer. So,
The kids are the heart and soul of everything that we love there.
And I do believe Mr. Heckman really, really, really would like to meet Ringo Starr if he could. They share an affinity for phrases, so if there's any way to make that possible, please, even a photo op, I think it would be very important. They have a thing. Anyone else? Thank you so much for your time, and, we wish you the best. Let us
Thank
know if
you.
you need anything in the
Thank you
future.
for the time and the support. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may just say one last thing, I'd like to give a shout out and a thank you to Lamont McClure and Tina Smith and everybody at DCED. We work most directly with the Department of Community and Economic Development, and they're first class, and they are supportive, and they listen and understand our needs and have responded. So thank you to them as well as to all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, next, I've had a request to make sure that we use the mics. I'm not sure, we were trying to not overuse the mics. Except for Mr. Heckman, don't use your mic. Next, we have a county executive report. Mr. McClure, do you have a report for us this evening?
I do, ma'am, thank you. I was told that I have to stand further back because the microphones are souped up. We, as I think Mr. Heckman rightly noted, we are all pandemic weary now at the last meeting. And I think it's important for us all to understand that we're not done with the pandemic. I mean, we just heard, very sadly, that 1,000th recorded death in Northampton County of a person who's passed positive COVID-19. Now, they weren't all our fellow residents. Some were from other places, but their deaths are not any less meaningful to us. And, you know, we mourn them all. And it's so important that we do not yet give up. We can't give up. And we're not going to, folks. We have plenty of money set aside to continue our testing site and our vaccination site, where we are approaching 10,000 COVID-19 tests performed. Now, I told you last time we had plateaued previously at 22% positive of the people who were showed up. And those people were about 19, 20. We're back down to about 19 or 20 people showing up, which dovetails nicely with Omicron receding. But of those people who are showing up, 29.2% are now positive. So, I mean, if we're looking at that as the new plateau, we're still going to continue to see infections. We're still going to continue to see hospitalizations and deaths, mostly among the unvaccinated. And that's why I'm so glad that we're continuing to work with Coordinated Health LVHN to vaccinate, because vaccinations save lives and livelihoods. And we've seen it here in Northampton County, and it's why we've emphasized vaccinations. Part of our response has been to the health emergency, but part of our response, as you know, has been to the economic devastation that the coronavirus has caused, and it is continuing to do it. We have put $22 million into our small businesses to help them survive. Think about this, over 1,500 small businesses we have helped to survive through the pandemic, and we should not give up on them yet, because this is a whole of the county response. It's a health response, and it's an economic response. And we've been doing so well, we should not give in yet. We should not give in yet. More about vaccinations in a minute, but I wanted to give you some news. We recently had our retirement board meeting. And of our 3 funds, we are currently managing, Mr. Cusick, don't, mark me off here, but $602,496,192 under management in Northampton County. This is the most we've ever had in our 3 funds that we are managing. And most of the credit, of course, goes to the stock market, our managers, and the retirement board, who is doing an excellent job and asking excellent questions of our managers. And we are over $50 million in our OPEB, other post-retirement benefits, and that's the medical benefits for our retirees. And that has allowed us to no longer charge the retiree a premium for their health care. So it's premium free to the retiree. We have been able to refresh the retirees $12,500 because we're doing so well with this money. So in some ways, this is a golden age for retirees in Northampton County. We've just, in the last 4 years, approved their 3rd cost of living adjustment, and the cost of living adjustment was 4.6%, which was the maximum allowed by law. So our retirees are doing very well. Remember, most of these people worked for our government at a time when they were paid less, and it was understood that when you were in government service that you made less money, and one of the reasons you took less money was to have a defined pension benefit, sort of why you went into teaching. And I'm not trying to be funny. It's why people go into teaching, so that they can be taken care of in their old age, and it's why people worked at Northampton County. So we're going to continue to take care of our retirees. I want to talk a little bit more about vaccination. I was preparing to mandate vaccination at NCP, at our prison, because infections were running out of control, both and especially amongst our residents there, but also amongst our corrections officers. And we did see, and we've provided you with the chart a couple times, we saw when, and I know that correlation is not causation, but we did see when our infections went up amongst our COs, they skyrocketed amongst our residents. So I was prepared to sign an executive order mandating vaccinations in NCP for everyone who worked there. Fortunately, and it's on your agenda tonight, short of that, we have agreed to do an incentive pay with our corrections officers our AFSCME represented corrections officers, if 75% of them will get vaccinated and verify their vaccination status to Human Resources, we will pay them incentive pay of 25% on top of their regular earnings. We're doing this so that we don't have to mandate the vaccination and to encourage the vaccination and to acknowledge that we've stayed pretty much near the full complement of corrections officers throughout the entire pandemic. And that is a credit to them and an even further credit to them. And if you'll bear with me for a moment, I received this letter, January 12th, 2022. Dear County Executive McClure, congratulations are in order as the Northampton County Department of Corrections has earned full compliance during the 2021 inspection period. Director James Costora and the Northampton County jail staff deserve credit for their efforts in operating this facility in accordance with statewide correctional standards. There are no deficiencies or citations in this report. The Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, Office of County Inspections and Services, Inspector Laura A. Kowalczyk conducted the inspection of Northampton County Department of Corrections on November 3rd and 4th, 2021. The results of the inspection show that the facility has achieved full compliance with Title 37, Chapter 95, County Corrections Institutions, Administrative Standards, Regulations, and Facilities. Staff commitment to compliance is evident throughout the facility, allowing the facility to maintain an audit-ready status. Staff at Northampton County Jail should be proud of their accomplishments and are encouraged to maintain this level of compliance. Receiving full compliance is a distinction that is earned when a facility and staff have met or exceeded Title 37, Chapter 95 expectations. Due to this achievement, the Northampton County Department of Corrections is exempt from the normal one-year inspection cycle. As such, the next inspection cycle for this facility will be in 2023. As the Executive Deputy Secretary of Institutional Operations, I extend my congratulations and gratitude to all involved for their outstanding inspection results and a job well done. Please contact with my office with any questions. Tab Bickwell, Executive Deputy Secretary of Institutional Operations. So I think that the administration and our officers in the prison are doing a fantastic job, and I hope you'll unanimously support our efforts tonight to approve the incentive to get them to a 75% vaccination rate on our way to trying to get them to be 100% vaccinated. With respect to the prison, I want to commend Prime Care Medical, who's our medical provider in the prison. They have provided 32 vaccination clinics. 32 vaccination clinics. They have vaccinated 561 residents. They've boosted 78, and there are currently 284 residents in NCP who are fully vaccinated. So Prime Care Medical is to be commended for the work they've done in vaccinations in our prison. On January 3rd, I received the following letter. Actually, Ms. Stewart King received it. I don't know if she told you about it when she was with you earlier. Representatives of the Lehigh Valley Field Office Division of Nursing Care Facilities completed a revisit on January 3rd, 2022 to determine if your facility meets the requirements to participate in federal certification program as a result of the survey ending October 24th, 2021. Based on the review of the evidence submitted, they found that your facility has demonstrated significant corrections of deficiencies cited, and we will presume substantial compliance with CRF Part 483, Subpart B at this time. So here we have our prison, our nursing home, two of the most beleaguered institutions with respect to COVID-19 doing their jobs, and they are to be commended for that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for Mr. McClure? Mr. Brown?
Mr. McClure, what's the current vaccination percentage in the prison today amongst the staff?
The last time I looked at the CO's report, it was around 50%. But I do know, so 6 in the last clinic, I just talked about the 32nd clinic, I do know that 6 jail staff are reported as having been vaccinated. I'm assuming most of them are COs. So I think that, and I do know, and I want to commend AFSCME, the representatives and the COs. They are trying to get to that 75% because I think they do understand that it's better to get 25%, and, oh, they have to pick up an extra shift too to get it. So that's even a further benefit to the operation of the facility. I do think it's better to get paid than get mandated.
Any other questions? Mr. Lyons?
And this, as we speak about the incentives, this has an end date, I believe. in
3 months, isn't it?
June?
Yeah.
Is it June? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure that was out there.
And then we can reevaluate it.
No further questions? Thank you, Mr. McClure. Is there any old business to discuss?
I have old business.
Mr. Heckman?
Oh, no, I think staff fixed it, everything else. Yes, in case any business owners are here tonight, I feel bad because I get the impression, they were given the impression that somehow council's voting on a resolution tonight, or we're trying to change something. And I feel bad that you got ginned up for something that isn't happening. We just had, Mr. Lesherlot told me, the last meeting, we approved grants and we passed them unanimously. I believe the vote was unanimous. There were some questions, not about, is it great to give money to businesses? It was more about process. Like, how are we doing it? Are there ways we could look at it, conditions? Unlike the executive branch, the way the home rule charter is set up, we can't have private meetings with department heads and discuss strategies, political and otherwise. We have to do it publicly. So if you have a question, since we have to vote on it, the question is best served in a public forum. So any of us at any time may say, hey, should we look at it this way? Should we, for example, say if one of the provisions is an illegal immigrant being hired or employed? And the strategy is, how long do you think we may have to go on or whatever? But as I listen to the speakers, I certainly understand your need, but I got the distinct impression you were under some impression, honestly, even tonight, that we were voting to get rid of something or massively change something, and I'm not aware of any piece of legislation, ordinance, or resolution that's even being prepared by anybody up here. So I just want to say, as a council member, a longtime council member, I know that the executive branch and the legislative branch, they go at things sometimes, and each will use constituencies to fight against the other, and part of the game is to make pawns out of things. But I just want to let you know from my perspective, I certainly had questions as we get into the third year about the process we're using. I don't think myself, or I can't speak for other council members, don't for a minute believe that you may not need the money, just as everybody out there needs money. Your employees need money. The National Chamber of Commerce said that should be stopped. That's the only reason they're not coming back to work, which I don't agree with them. But I certainly believe that small businesses need money and small businesses provide the jobs. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't want anybody who might still be here to leave under the impression that we were pushing some kind of change. What we were talking about was the process being used, and if we needed to make some changes in how it was done. At least that was my perspective. And those questions get asked publicly. But I just wanted to say from where I'm sitting, I understand it's still needed in areas, and I'm certainly not voting, even though I asked questions at the last round we did. I had some serious questions, but I voted for it. So as long as I'm sitting here, I will not ever stop asking questions, no matter how uncomfortable it makes somebody or how upset a branch of government may get that I even dare to bring up a question. So I just want you to feel assured that this council person is questioning the process in general, but certainly I understand and know who's ever left, the mayor's still here, that I understand your need. I mean, I have relatives who have small business, and I was getting on them in another county. I said, you've got to check, you've got to check. So I understand. But I wanted to set the record straight. That's under old business. I just had this impression listening to the folks that somehow they were given this impression that there was some kind of vote happening or going on. And that's unfortunate that that was done. So that was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other questions or concerns? Mr. Myers?
I just want to get back to exec for a second. you have an agreement for us to approve tonight. Are there any other organizations or people that fall underneath your realm that you're going to be bringing forth incentives for them to also get vaccinated?
There is no plan to do that at this time, although I will say there are other collective bargaining units that we have made similar incentivizing offers to, and we've had, responses from them that weren't positive. And, we may need to look at mandating those particular units to be vaccinated if they can't see their way to getting paid to do it.
Okay, answers my question.
Excuse me, any other questions? Any other old business? Seeing none, let's move into new business. First, we have the consideration of the codification of ordinances for the period ending December 31st, 2021 resolution. Mr. Giovanni, will you please introduce this resolution? Make sure your mic's on, sir.
Now therefore be resolved by the Northampton County Council that the attached codification for the period ending December 31st, 2021 shall be adopted this third day of February, 2022.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Is there a discussion on this matter? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania Priorities Resolution. Mr. Cusick, will you introduce this resolution?
Thank you, Madam President. Just for some context for our audience and new members and even old members, each year at the end of November, the county commissioners meet in Hershey, and we discuss our priorities for the following year with the Pennsylvania State Legislature. Each of our individual policy committees puts out a priority, and at the end of the meeting, we vote on the priorities and to see which ones rise to the top. And this year, there were 7 priorities that rose to the top. And last week, a presentation was given by CCAP, and I attended their Zoom session. And each of these was discussed in some detail, and you were all provided with information from CCAP. So a resolution of the County of Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, supporting the 2022 priorities of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. I won't read them all, but I won't read the whole ordinance, but I'll just briefly touch on each of the priorities. The top priority is advocating for appropriate funding to support the crumbling mental health system. I think that came up earlier this evening via a question in a committee meeting. The second priority is addressing the human services workforce crisis. We continue to struggle to hire people, as do all of our counties. The third priority is broadband expansion, and we've seen significant state and federal legislation to address this, and I think we're hopeful that, particularly in rural areas, that we'll continue to move ahead with these programs. The fourth priority is appropriate funding and reform for the children and youth system. And again, I think that was something that we've talked about here many times in committees. Okay. Let's see. Number 5 is election integrity, and that involves creating some clear rules for some of the issues that have arisen as a result of Act 77. I think we're seeing in our neighboring county one of those issues play out in a judicial race. So things like undated ballots need to be addressed. I know personally, if a kid doesn't put his name or a date in a paper, I give him the I give him the chance. And I think that we need to look at giving people the ability to sign and date their ballots if they come in on time. The sixth priority is 911 funding and reauthorization. The bill expires in January 2024, and it always seems that negotiations come down to the last minute. Significant changes were made to our funding formula, and we need to keep up with the times. There's fewer and fewer landlines and other methods for communicating with 911. And the seventh and final priority was funding and resources for elections. Again, we saw with the expansion of mail-in balloting, the need to hire additional staff. Here, we funded it, but other counties that may not have the resources struggled not only to hire additional staff, but to keep their current staff. I know about half of the election directors across the state resigned or took other positions. We've been fortunate with our election staff. And anyway, now therefore, it is hereby resolved that Northampton County stands ready to work with the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania and counties throughout the Commonwealth in support of these priorities for 2022. It is further resolved that these priorities emphasize the important role Northampton County plays in improving our communities and the well-being of our residents. It is further resolved that Northampton County calls upon the General Assembly and the administration to work together in partnership with counties to jointly determine the most effective ways to continue meeting the needs of Pennsylvanians. It is further resolved collaboration between county government and the Commonwealth on these priorities will lead to solutions and improve stewardship of taxpayers' dollars, reduce cost, increase local flexibility, and assure the quality of services counties provide. It is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Northampton County Legislative Delegation, Governor Tom Wolf, and to the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. And I thank you.
Are there any questions regarding this or discussion?
Yes, sorry, I just have a discussion. These 2 points on integrity are almost identical to the ones that were passed last year, and I remember us talking about them. So after reading them, I'm going to agree with this, but I want to say that I am on the Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee at CCAP, and I was very disappointed that not one priority was environmental, that not one priority on this list was considered to have clean air, clean water, address climate change, address the solar development that's going to come as one of the biggest land grabs, and that we're not talking about these environmental issues and they don't make the cut.
Yeah. Just if I could respond, I do recall a great or a short debate about whether or not a solar farm should be called a farm at all. So it was addressed, but unfortunately, you're right, it did not rise to the top. And I sit on the Assessment and Taxation Committee, and none of our priorities rose to the top either. So I was disappointed to see that myself.
Any other discussion regarding this? Call for the vote.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Garfredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of Memorandum of Agreement between Northampton County and Northampton County Housing Authority Resolution. Mr. Lott, will you present this resolution?
Sure will. We discussed this in committee meeting today, so I will introduce it. Whereas on January 24th, 2022, County Council received a memorandum of agreement between Northampton County and the Northampton County Housing Authority regarding clerical support for the Northampton County Department of Community and Economic Development, see Exhibit A. Now, therefore, it be hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that the memorandum of agreement shall be approved this third day of February 2022. So introduced.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding this matter? Yes, Ms. Zirinsky.
I just want to say how happy I am that we are going to reclaim our housing authority from the first contact that I had with Kathy Rifford, and going down and seeing the Oliver C. Border House. I'm just so happy that we could come this far and make sure that people have the housing and the quality of housing that they deserve. And so I'm definitely voting for this. And I want to thank Becky Bartlett and our economic development crew, Tina and Mark, for working so diligently on this. And I know that you put everything into it. So thank you so much.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote?
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have the consideration of a memorandum of understanding regarding vaccine incentives for corrections officers. Mr. Heckman, will you introduce the resolution?
Whereas the county charter, section 202-12 provides that the county council shall have the power to approve any collective bargaining agreements with officers and employees. Whereas on January 27th, 2022, county council received a memorandum of understanding between the Northampton County and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, District Council 88, Local 2459, regarding vaccine incentives for corrections officers. See Exhibit A. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that the memorandum of understanding shall be approved this third day of February 2022.
Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding this matter? Mr. Cusick?
I believe some of our representatives from the bargaining unit are here. I was just wondering if there was anyone, if you would permit, if they so choose, any of them to address this, because I think I would like to know if the union believes that they can reach the 75%. Do you believe it's achievable?
Not to confuse you with the sheriff.
Sir, could you come to the
Oh.
mic and address us, please? Oh, sure.
Oh, sure, oh.
Is there anyone here from the
Is
bargaining?
there anyone
unit?
here from the bargaining unit?
There's no one here from the bargaining unit.
Mr. Castor is here.
Well, I have some questions regarding the agreement, so
Oh,
if he
he's
could
hiding.
present, or. So the first statement and the agreement, and again, we pushed this past, we're not waiting for Personnel Committee because we felt it was timely and we wanted to have it move forward. But my question is, all right, it says, therefore, the parties agree to implement incentive pay
You
on
have
the
it.
following terms. And the first is 75% of all active corrections officers must demonstrate that they have been fully vaccinated by March 6, 2022. Does that mean if you don't get the 75%, they don't get the incentive?
Correct.
Wow, that's going to take some cooperation on it.
And incentive pay is available, having proof of vaccination will be defined as 25% increase of all earnings for the pay period. And the pay period is just the pay period they were vaccinated? What does that mean?
I have
It's
no
number
idea what
D.
you're asking.
It's number D on your
Okay.
agreement. What does that mean? I'm asking you to clarify that. 25% increase of all earnings for the pay period. You mean the entire?
No, so, okay, let's do this, because I think it's a question. It says, quote, incentive pay, close quote, is available to the corrections officers that have provided proof of vaccination as described above and will be defined as a 25% increase of all earnings for the pay period in which the incentive pay is earned. So yes, it will start when 75% of the next pay period after 75% have demonstrated vaccination.
And it's
status.
just 1 2-week period? Or is it the entire, from now
The
till
pay
March
period,
6th?
the pay period is 2 weeks.
It's
All right.
defined in E.
Okay, I see. Any other questions from anybody else? Yes, Mr. Gofredo.
Mr. McClure, just to hear you out correctly.
Sure.
So
We are asking them to get vaccinated on the proposal that if we reach 75%, they will get incentive. But if we reach 74%, the people that then volunteered to get vaccinated, they will not get that incentive.
Correct.
And my next question is, after the vaccine's been out for over a year now, do you really think that we're gonna see a 25% increase? Or I'm sorry, 100%. You're at 50% vaccinated right now?
Yes, it's
50%.
probably above that. Is it, Mary Lou, what was it the last time you checked?
Can't hear.
It was at least 48% of the people who reported it to us. And that was a couple months ago.
That would be quite a significant jump, would it not be?
Yep, yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping for it. I think they are too. They're really working at it. I commend them for that. It's better than having 100% be mandated to do it,
Any other questions, Mr. G?
which is coming if they don't get there.
Are you finished, Mr. Gofredo? Ms. Zirinsky?
Yeah, I think regardless of what we think of whether this is achievable or not, AFSCME has already voted on this and decided that they would go forward with this, right?
Yes.
So regardless of whether we think they could achieve it or not, the gauntlet has been laid out for them. Their goal is just to achieve it or not.
No, it was actually their idea based on Mr. Cusick's question.
Right, but if it's up to them whether they achieve it or not. If we vote on it today and it goes forward, they have the opportunity to achieve it.
Yes.
If we vote it down, they have no opportunity to claim this. So I think it's better to give them the opportunity to get what they asked for and allow them to move forward to the potential of getting to that 75% and getting this bonus, which is their 2-week pay period. Seems logical to me.
Any other comment? Mr. Brown?
Just clarification then, the window of opportunity for the officers to get vaccinated and to achieve the 75% is March 6th, according to Bullet A. So that's the window we're in right now. When, if they were able to do that, is the start date of this, is it retro pay, or is it just from the date they hit 75% going forward? Or does it go back to the beginning of the agreement? So if they hit 75% on March 6th, this would have started January 24th?
No, it starts the next first date. Is March 6th the pay period? Yes. It's March 6th is a pay period, so it would start that pay period.
Okay, so but it's limited to that pay period and it doesn't go back or?
No, it's not retroactive.
Yeah, okay, great. That's
That's I think what you asked him.
So the folks
Oh,
that have...
okay, I apologize.
And that's the first day of a pay period, so that would be the.
All right, thank you very much.
You're
for
welcome.
clarification.
You're welcome.
And the folks who have already been vaccinated,
They count.
they do count?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Why would you
In the
distance?
75%.
Yeah. Why would you punish somebody who's doing the right
I'm
thing?
making sure that we're
Yeah.
not.
No, we wouldn't.
because,
We
you know,
wouldn't do that.
First adopters should get
We wouldn't do that.
some credence. Any other questions, concerns? Discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of a donation to children, youth, and families resolution. Mr. Heckman, will you introduce?
Okay. We discussed this at the committee meeting prior to our council meeting. Whereas Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Section 202-10 provides that county council shall have, among others, the following powers: to accept on behalf of the county any gifts of real property and to provide for the acceptance of any agency on behalf of the county of other gifts. And whereas the estate of Ms. Alina A. Clothier has requested that memorial contributions be made in her name through the Northampton County Children, Youth, and Families Division. Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby allow the Division of Children, Youth, and Families be prepared to accept donations in memory of Alina A. Clothier. And I think Ms. Ms. Wonderlich. I mean, she explained it, we discussed it pretty fully in the committee.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Margot Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. That concludes new business. Is there any other new business to discuss? Mr. Heckman.
Yes, I just want to say, when we talk about being an elected official and what you have to do and your responsibilities, today is my wedding anniversary. And once again, I'm at a political governmental function. And being that it's the 49th, I just wanted to give a shout out to my wife, who's been willing to put up with me for the 49 years.
So
She needs a round of applause for that.
It's a bigger one.
As inappropriate as that may have been in regards to council matters.
So she gets the proclamation. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, shit.
Is there any other real council business to attend to? Hearing none, council committee reports. Mr. Myers.
I got with Linda tonight, and we will be having meetings for courts and corrections. And we will have a meeting of the capital projects within the next couple of weeks. So if there's folks in the back from the Sheriff's Department want to make your way to that courts and corrections meeting, you're more than welcome to attend, and I will accept anything you have to say.
Sir, do you have a date for those meetings?
We will finalize that soon.
Yeah, the capital projects will begin before the personnel and finance on the 19th. 16th. And then the capital, the corrections will have to get in touch with the courts and the sheriff and the corrections officer in the DA's office to find out when they are available.
We will make sure everybody's available, and we will have it, and we will make sure it's posted.
All right, thank you. Any other committee reports? Mr. Heckman.
We just had the Human Services Committee meeting prior to this meeting, and it was very informative. We had a report from Graysdale, and I thought that we got a great deal of information. There was a lot of shared communication on that, and they made it clear about the various things we're trying, and it was mentioned then, looking into the possibility of childcare on site, and they're working on it, and they'll give us an update. We also had a report on the Area Agency on Aging. Part of my plan was each month to have a different division come in and reacquaint or acquaint council members. And I want to say that Ms. Greco, who's the division head, gave an excellent report, and it gave us a great deal of information, and it sounds like they're doing as good a job as you could expect. Their rating, they had a 92% compliance rating, and the state requirement is 72%. So kudos to Ms. Greco and her division. And Ms. Wondolowski just gave us a report in general and information on various human service-related issues. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Mr. Lott.
Today at 3:30, we had an Economic Development Committee meeting. We went over a couple of presentations. One was from the Northampton County Historic and Cultural Asset Plan. We were given a presentation on that. We also reviewed the Department of Community and Economic Development grant schedule. We also talked a little bit about what the grants are used for, caps and amounts in those grants, and when they will be put out to solicit and when they'll be granted. And last but not least, we went over the Memorandum of Agreement with Northampton County Housing Authority, and we were very happy to pass that to keep that moving along. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committees? Council liaison reports. Zirinsky.
I have several, so I'm just going to go straight through. Okay?
That's okay.
So I attended the LVPC meeting on 1/27. We discussed the Glendon Borough Plan, 215 House Street. We discussed the Crin Maintenance Building and the final plan there. And there is a theme. We discussed the RPL, the River Point logistics. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission had some really strong words to say about this plan, about the lack of infrastructure and how it's fiscally insolvent for Upper Mount Bethel Township. I think it's something that we really need to look into a little bit more. We also discussed Lehigh University Solar and approved their plan, even though we asked them to put trees so that the neighbors wouldn't have to look at it. So that's that. Not my fault with the microphone. And then I also attended Oh, the paper's touching it? Okay, well now we know, you can't have a paper touching your microphone. Who knew? Okay, so I went, on 131, I went to the Nazareth COG meeting. We talked about coordinated zoning for the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. Carol Yeager and AJ Schwartz presented their zoning, talking about trying to zone by different usages of land and how to regulate land use in the idea that you have to consider compatible land, you have to consider things that are environmentally similar, and you have to leverage the tools. And they looked at 30 unique different zoning districts in that whole COG. And I have to tell you, it was a 2-hour presentation. Very informative. Just look it up for yourself, right? I also attended farmland preservation. 17,949.57 acres are preserved on 227 farms. I think Maria and Ryan are doing an excellent job there in going through the list, and we will be preserving more farms this year.
Tara, can I stop you for a minute? Do you have the dates for that yet, or the deadlines on that, or will you present that when you get them?
I will present that when I get them. That meeting was just on Tuesday. I believe the applications are usually accepted sometime in March.
Thank you.
That's when they usually begin. Finally, I wanted to address, because I did talk about the RPL, and we did talk about a resolution that didn't come to pass the last time at the EELU meeting. There was a DEP public hearing for the RPL. It was published to be February 10th, but the live public hearing was actually February 2nd. There were pretty many people in attendance, even though an application hadn't necessarily been received, so no one knows really what they're commenting on. And the overarching comments that were made were that the specific application that they're talking about is for 303 Demi Road. But that represents one portion of a 6.5 million square foot complex. And that the cumulative impacts are not being considered, and that there needs to be subsequent hearings to consider the cumulative impacts that will be had to the environment, with the infrastructure and everything else, and in regards to septic and sewerage that would be either available or not available. Lou Pector did give a short presentation, as did somebody from the DEP. They already had a deficiency on 9/30/2021, which is why they had to resubmit for the permit on 11/1/2021. And this was the hearing for that technical permit, and it is under review currently. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other liaisons? Mr. Giovanni.
Yep, the Information Technology Governance Meeting met on February 1st. It was remote, Skype, through Skype. The Poly Clarity Solution, which will be introduced the week of 2/7. Me and Eileen and I will be getting an invite to participate in that test, how they should say. We did receive a PowerPoint copy of how this is supposed to work, so hopefully we'll know everything by next week. Also, there's going to be some monthly maintenance being done to the IT stuff. It's only monthly. That'll be on 2/11. And then refresh, they only had 16 devices refresh, but they're trying to do bulk ordering because of the logistics of equipment that they need. So they're going to try and do it in bulk. And that's my report.
Do you have any clout that you could have them come and reset these mics and test them?
I will send Bob an email.
Could I ask you to use your special powers to do so?
Yep, I will.
And I just want to state, that, you know, because we were told before the meeting that these were very sensitive, so clearly there's been some static, but I've also been getting, like, reports that mean we can't hear you. So we were told to be sensitive, so somehow we have to have a little.
Yeah, I'll communicate with Bob
You know.
this week.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to mention one other thing, I'm sorry.
Okay.
At the Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee last month, we talked about the I-80 fix-it. That we did not vote on anything at that point in time, but Tara Mezzanotte wanted to make sure that everybody knew that she is coming back to the next EELU meeting to consider any of your questions, and I would appreciate if you gave me those questions in advance so that I can give them to her and we could potentially make that presentation shorter and she could address all your concerns. So Adele and Lori will both be coming back. Adele Starr was is the mayor of not Knowlton, but Warren County. And Lori was another participant. Anyway, they will be coming back to answer all your questions. And I did get the packet from Adele Starr, that big, huge binder that she had that everybody's really waiting to read. I have that digitally, and I will email it to all of you. And I'm sure you can't wait.
Oh, yeah. I'm just ready.
By your request. Thank you.
Thank you. The GPA met this Tuesday morning. What do I want to say about that? There was one property that needed to be taken, and we went to court over it, and it has been seized because we could not agree after 4 years with the owners to surrender the property. So I believe it went to court, and we have possession of that, so we're able to do the work and begin the work on that bridge. I believe there's still 4 bridges that are under construction or beginning construction in design phase. There are several bridges with punch list items and insufficient completion. That's disturbing because, you know, now we're under water restrictions and it can't be done. So I'm hoping by April we'll have a little bit better report. What do I want to say about that? I think there are still a number of bridges in question, and that has not been determined yet. So that's all I have for that. We have council clerk report. Council solicitor report. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Carrie and Tom, you have to stop the routine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.